Welcome back, everyone. Have you ever looked at a massive home repair estimate and confidently thought to yourself, I could probably just do that myself for 20 bucks and a trip to the hardware store? Well, today we are dedicating an entire supersized marathon to exactly that mindset. We have compiled 13 of the absolute most ambitious DIY projects in recorded history, performed by homeowners who looked at professional contractors, laughed, and completely ignored the fundamental laws of physics. We are talking about people who tried to turn their living rooms into demolition zones, used their plumbing as backyard artillery, and accidentally launched a water heater space program right out of their own basement. These 13 weekend warriors tried to save a few dollars on home maintenance, but ended up getting a permanent, non-refundable eviction notice from Mother Nature herself. So, grab your favorite safe snack, put the power tools away, and let's watch gravity, chemistry, and thermodynamics deliver the ultimate reality check. Let's get right into it. Number 1. Let's start with a story from Brazil that perfectly illustrates why you should never, ever let a literal dream dictate your home renovation plans. We find a 71-year-old gentleman named Wow. One night, he had a vivid, incredibly convincing dream that there was a massive, life-changing fortune of gold buried directly underneath his own house. Now, most people would wake up, laugh about the crazy dream, and go make some coffee. Joao did not make coffee. He went to the garage and grabbed a shovel. He decided to start a massive excavation project right in the middle of his own kitchen floor. Over a long period, he dug an absolutely perfect circular vertical shaft straight down into the earth. And he didn't just dig a little hole, he kept going until this vertical drop was a staggering 40 meters deep. For context, 40 meters is roughly the height of a 13-story building. He dug a 13-story elevator shaft in his kitchen. To get up and down his new personal dungeon, he built a highly questionable homemade DIY pulley and bucket system. Let's take a quick pause to appreciate the spectacular misunderstanding of structural engineering and gravity happening right here. Commercial miners use heavy-duty steel cables, automated winches, and multiple safety harnesses. Joao was essentially riding a homemade bucket over a massive, dark abyss. One day, while he was trying to climb out of his massive kitchen pit, the DIY pulley system finally met its mechanical limit. He lost his grip and slipped. Gravity, as always, does not respect your dreams of finding treasure. A 40-meter freefall inside a narrow dirt tube ends exactly one way. He took the fastest possible express route to the bottom of his own excavation site, and the sheer kinetic impact delivered a permanent, unrecoverable timeout. He wanted to find gold, but instead, he successfully built his own 13-story underground exit from the timeline right next to his refrigerator. Number 2. For our next scene, we move to the backyard for a masterclass in why electricity and landscaping absolutely refuse to cooperate, especially when you wear the worst shoes imaginable. It is the weekend, and our homeowner needs to mow the lawn, but it had just finished raining heavily. The grass is soaking wet and the ground is muddy. Most people would look at the yard and say, I'll just do it tomorrow when it dries. Our guy decides to power through it. He pulls out his lawnmower, but this isn't a gas mower. It is a heavy-duty, corded electric lawnmower hooked up to a massive extension cord plugged directly into the house. And to complete his tactical yard work outfit, he decides to wear a pair of smooth rubber flip-flops. Here is the fatal flaw in his core strategy. Wet grass is incredibly slippery. Flip-flops have absolutely zero traction. And tap water is a flawless conductor of electrical current. He is pushing the running electric mower through the wet grass. His foot slips out from under him. He loses his balance, stumbles forward, and accidentally pushes the spinning high-speed metal blades of the mower directly over his own power cord. The blades instantly slice through the thick rubber insulation of the cable, completely exposing the raw, live copper wires. Because the ground is soaking wet, the 120 volts of raw alternating current doesn't just stay in the wire. It immediately travels through the puddle of water he is standing in. The electricity bypassed the machine and went straight into the landscaper. The massive surge of current acted as a localized lightning strike, completely overwhelming his biological circuitry. He wanted to have the neatest lawn in the neighborhood, but the municipal power grid handed him an immediate, permanent vacation from all future weekend chores. Number 3. Next up, we have a story from the USA that proves you should always read the ventilation warnings on the back of a chemical can. Our homeowner was doing some simple renovations in a small, tight bathroom located in the center of the house. This bathroom had no windows and very poor airflow. He was applying a heavy-duty, oil-based sealant to waterproof the floor. If you have ever used these kinds of industrial varnishes or sealants, you know they smell incredibly strong. That smell is actually heavy, highly flammable chemical vapors off-gassing into the air as the liquid dries. Our guy is happily painting the floor, completely ignoring the fact that the tiny, unventilated room is rapidly filling up with thick, invisible, explosive gas. But the chemical vapor wasn't the only problem. Because it was an older house, the bathroom also contained the home's gas-powered water heater. And gas water heaters use a pilot light, a tiny, open, exposed flame that burns 24 hours a day to ignite the gas when the water needs to heat up. Let's pause and appreciate the terrifying chemistry experiment he just built. He created a perfectly sealed box, filled it with a highly combustible vapor, and introduced an open flame. When the concentration of the chemical fumes in the air reached the exact right ratio, the fumes touched the tiny blue pilot light. The resulting chemical reaction was instantaneous. The bathroom didn't just catch fire. It experienced a catastrophic, volumetric thermobaric expansion. The enclosed space instantly turned into a high-pressure combustion chamber. The massive, concussive blast completely ignored the drywall, the door, and the homeowner inside. He wanted to make sure his floor didn't get water damage, but instead, he accidentally built a localized pressure bomb that forcefully and immediately evicted him from the physical realm. Always open a window, my friends. Number 4. Let's move on to a story about amateur landscaping that proves leverage and elasticity are terrifying forces when applied to heavy timber. We find a guy who has a large dead tree sitting right in the middle of his backyard. Hiring a professional tree removal service with a crane and chainsaws is expensive. He looks at his heavy-duty pickup truck and thinks, I have 400 horsepower. I'll just yank it out of the ground myself. He takes an incredibly strong, thick tow cable, but instead of tying it low around the base of the trunk, he decides he needs leverage. He climbs up a ladder and ties the cable high up near the top branches of the dead tree and hooks the other end directly to the solid steel hitch of his truck. He gets into the driver's seat, smiles, and stomps the gas pedal straight to the floor. Here is the terrifying reality of arboreal physics. A dead tree is basically a giant, rigid lever. By pulling from the very top, he created an immense amount of bending force on the base. Furthermore, heavy tow cables have a massive amount of elasticity. They stretch like giant rubber bands. The truck roars forward. The heavy cable stretches tighter and tighter, storing a terrifying amount of kinetic energy. Finally, the dead, rotting wood at the base of the trunk completely snaps. But because the truck was pulling the top of the tree forward and the cable was stretched like a slingshot, the massive, multi-ton wooden canopy didn't fall backward. It violently and aggressively whips straight forward, perfectly following the line of tension. The massive tree trunk became a high-speed, unguided wooden missile. It traveled significantly faster than the truck, crashing directly down onto the thin metal roof of the pickup truck cabin. The sheer kinetic impact of thousands of pounds of timber forcefully introduced the roof to the steering wheel, completely ignoring the driver's biological structural integrity. He wanted to save a few bucks on a lumberjack, but the tree fought back with a devastating high-speed body slam that permanently benched him from the landscaping game. Number 5. It is the 4th of July, and a father wants to put on an epic professional-level fireworks display for his neighborhood. He bought massive, commercial-grade aerial mortar shells, the kind that shoot hundreds of feet into the air before exploding. But you cannot just light these on the ground. They need to be dropped into a tall tube so the lifting charge can launch them upward like a cannon. Professional fireworks technicians use thick, high-density fiberglass or heavy steel tubes for this. Our DIY dad didn't want to buy special equipment. He went to the local hardware store, bought a length of standard white PVC plumbing pipe, and stuck it in his front yard. Here is the fatal flaw in his material science knowledge. PVC pipe is designed to hold low-pressure, slow-moving water. It is incredibly brittle. When you place a massive black powder explosive charge inside a PVC tube and ignite it, the expanding gases create thousands of pounds of pressure in a fraction of a millisecond. He drops the heavy firework into the plastic pipe, lights the fuse, and stands right next to it to watch the launch. The lifting charge detonates. But the plastic tube cannot handle the concussive force. Instead of pushing the firework up into the sky, the pressure finds the weakest point, the walls of the tube itself. The PVC pipe didn't just crack, it violently and aggressively shattered. The explosion turned the plumbing supply into a high-speed, localized fragmentation grenade. Hundreds of razor-sharp shards of rigid plastic were launched outward at supersonic speed. He was standing right in the blast radius. The plastic shrapnel completely bypassed his natural defenses. To make this situation even worse, plastic, unlike metal, is almost completely invisible on standard hospital X-ray machines, making medical intervention incredibly difficult. He wanted to create a beautiful light show, but he accidentally manufactured backyard artillery that handed him a permanent, uncompromising exit from the timeline right there on the grass. Leave the pyrotechnics to the professionals. Number 6. We find a homeowner who is looking at his roof and notices a heavy green buildup of moss on the shingles. Hiring a professional roof cleaning crew can be a little pricey, so he decides to handle it himself. He goes out, rents a heavy-duty, gasoline-powered pressure washer, drags the heavy hose up a tall aluminum ladder, and steps right out onto the sloped roof. He didn't bother to rent a safety harness. He didn't tie himself to the chimney. He just walked out there in standard shoes, completely trusting his own sense of balance. Let's take a quick pause to appreciate the spectacular misunderstanding of friction happening right here. Moss, when it gets wet, is basically nature's version of liquid soap. It is incredibly slimy. When you blast it with a high-pressure stream of water, you instantly create a completely frictionless surface. Furthermore, a pressure washer has a massive amount of physical kickback when you pull the trigger. That is Isaac Newton's third law of motion right there. He squeezes the trigger. The water blasts the moss. The roof instantly transforms into an extreme, high-altitude slip and slide. His feet lose all traction immediately. Because he had absolutely no safety rope to catch him, gravity took full and immediate control of the situation. He rapidly accelerated down the slope of the roof and took a sudden, non-consensual flight directly toward the unyielding concrete driveway below. The sheer kinetic impact of the landing completely bypassed his biological safety systems. He wanted to boost his home's curb appeal, but instead, gravity delivered a permanent, horizontal timeout. If you are going to fight slippery plants on a slope, please use a rope. Number 7. For our next scene, we travel to Australia for a masterclass in why you should never take interior design advice from reality television without consulting an actual architect first. Open concept living spaces are incredibly popular. Everyone wants to knock down walls to make their kitchen and living room flow together perfectly. Our protagonist decided his house felt a little too cramped. He grabbed a massive heavy steel sledgehammer and decided to do some extreme interior remodeling all by himself. He targeted a thick, heavy brick wall right in the middle of his house and just started swinging. Here is the fatal flaw in his architectural knowledge. Walls are not just there for decoration or privacy. In many homes, the walls right in the middle of the structure are load-bearing. That means they are the literal, physical legs holding up the entire weight of the second floor and the heavy timber roof structure. He didn't check the blueprints. He didn't install temporary steel support beams. He just kept smashing the bricks away, one by one. Structural engineering is not a suggestion. It is an absolute mathematical requirement. The moment he swung the hammer and knocked out the final crucial row of load-bearing bricks, the ceiling literally had nothing left to stand on. The entire second floor of the house aggressively and instantly joined the first floor. Tons of heavy wood, drywall, and structural materials collapsed directly on top of the DIY designer. He successfully achieved the ultimate, ultra-spacious open concept, but the building forcefully revoked his remodeling license in the process, handing him a completely permanent exit from the construction business. Number 8. Next up, we have a story from the USA that highlights what is universally considered one of the absolute most dangerous DIY tasks a homeowner can ever attempt: fixing a garage door. If you look above a standard roll-up garage door, you will usually see a massive, thick steel coil. That is a torsion spring. A garage door weighs hundreds of pounds. The only reason you can easily lift it with one hand is because that heavy steel spring is wound up incredibly tight, storing a terrifying amount of rotational kinetic energy to offset the weight of the door. When a torsion spring needs to be adjusted or replaced, professional technicians use highly specialized, solid steel winding bars to hold that massive tension. Our homeowner's door was acting up, and he decided to fix it himself. He grabbed a standard, cheap metal screwdriver from his toolbox, climbed up a ladder, stuck the tip of the screwdriver into the winding cone, and tried to loosen the massive spring by hand. Let's pause and appreciate the mechanical nightmare he just initiated. A standard screwdriver is not designed to hold back hundreds of pounds of raw, twisting kinetic energy. The moment he released the set screws, the massive power of the spring transferred entirely to his cheap hand tool. The thin metal of the screwdriver simply couldn't handle the torque. It aggressively slipped out of the slot. The heavy steel spring violently and instantly unwound at lightning speed. The heavy metal winding mechanism whipped around like a high-speed mechanical baseball bat, delivering a catastrophic, supersonic kinetic impact directly to his skull before he could even blink. He wanted to save a $100 repair bill, but the garage door delivered a permanent, uncompromising reality check instead. Never, ever touch the overhead springs, folks. Number 9. Let's move on to a story about backyard automotive repair that proves you should never trust your life to the wrong type of building materials. We find a guy who wants to change the oil and do some basic maintenance underneath his car. To do this, you need to lift a 4,000-pound metal machine up in the air and keep it there safely. Professional mechanics use heavy-duty hydraulic lifts. Safe DIYers use solid steel, specifically engineered jack stands. Our guy used his hydraulic jack to lift the car, but he didn't own any steel jack stands. He looked around his yard and found a couple of hollow, concrete cinder blocks. He slid these blocks under the frame of the car and lowered the heavy vehicle down onto them. Then he grabbed his wrench and slid his entire upper body directly underneath the 2-ton machine. Here is the terrifying reality of materials science. Cinder blocks are fantastic for building walls because the weight of the wall is distributed evenly across the entire surface of the blocks. But they are made of baked ash and cement. They are incredibly brittle. When you take the massive, concentrated point load of a 4,000-pound steel car frame and rest it directly on the thin, hollow edges of a cinder block, the concrete absolutely screams in agony. While he was happily turning a wrench, the brittle concrete reached its structural limit. There was no slow bending or warning creak. The cinder blocks violently and instantly shattered into useless powder and gravel. Gravity immediately reclaimed the vehicle. The heavy car dropped completely flat onto the driveway, delivering a heavy, unyielding HUD that our mechanic could absolutely not escape. He wanted to save a quick trip to the mechanic shop, but gravity gave him a permanent, completely horizontal retirement from all future car repairs. Spend the $30 on solid steel jack stands. Number 10. Next up, we have a story from the United Kingdom that proves kitchen chemistry is one of the most invisible, dangerous hazards in any home. Our protagonist, Celia, wanted to do a massive deep cleaning session in her bathroom. She wanted the floors and the toilet to sparkle perfectly. To achieve the ultimate extreme level of clean, she decided that one product wasn't enough. She took a bottle of standard household bleach, poured it into the toilet bowl, and then took a different bottle of heavy-duty toilet bowl cleaner and dumped it right on top. Here is the fatal flaw in her cleaning strategy. Standard bleach contains a chemical called sodium hypochlorite. Many heavy-duty bathroom cleaners contain ammonia or strong acids. When you mix bleach and ammonia in a small enclosed space like a bathroom, they do not create a super soap. They instantly react to create a highly toxic, invisible cloud of chloramine gas. This is essentially the exact same type of chemical warfare gas used in the trenches of World War I. Celia was standing right over the bowl when the invisible toxic vapor rapidly expanded into the small room. She inhaled the concentrated chemical gas. It immediately and aggressively attacked her respiratory system, physically burning the delicate tissues of her lungs and triggering a catastrophic, irreversible asthma attack. She quickly lost consciousness and collapsed. Despite being rushed to the hospital, the chemical damage was far too extensive. Her biological ventilation system was permanently shut down. She just wanted a shiny bathroom, but she accidentally manufactured a highly toxic, invisible exit from the timeline. The biggest rule of the cleaning cabinet: never, ever play chemist with the bleach. Number 11. We find a homeowner who is working hard on the outside of his two-story house. He is giving the facade a fresh coat of paint. To reach the second story, he is using a massive 24-foot, fully extended aluminum ladder. Aluminum is a fantastic material for ladders because it is incredibly lightweight, allowing one person to move a massive piece of equipment around the yard. He finishes painting one side of the house and realizes he needs to move to the other side of the yard. Now, the correct, safe way to move a 24-foot extension ladder is to completely collapse it down, carry it horizontally, set it up in the new spot, and extend it back up. But our guy is tired. He is looking for a shortcut. He decides to leave the ladder completely, fully extended. He grabs it by the middle rungs, balances it vertically straight up into the air, and starts doing that awkward, wobbly tightrope walk across the grass. Here is the fatal flaw in his landscaping navigation. He is focusing entirely on the ground to make sure he doesn't trip. He completely forgot to look up. Running directly across his front yard, right near the roof line, is the main residential power line feeding the neighborhood. And unlike the power cords inside your house, high-voltage municipal distribution lines do not have thick rubber insulation wrapped around them. They are often just bare, exposed metal hanging in the air. Aluminum is not just lightweight. It is an absolutely flawless, highly efficient conductor of raw electricity. Our painter takes a few steps backward, wobbles slightly, and the top tip of his 24-foot metal pole gently brushes right against the overhead power line. Physics does not hesitate, and it does not issue warning citations. The moment the metal touched the line, the ladder essentially became a giant lightning rod. Thousands of volts of raw, unadulterated alternating current instantly found the absolute fastest path to the ground. That path was straight down the aluminum rails and directly through the man holding them. The electrical grid delivered an immediate catastrophic surge that completely overwhelmed his biological circuitry in a fraction of a millisecond. He wanted to save 5 minutes of pulling on a ladder rope, but the power company handed him an immediate permanent timeout instead. Always look up, folks, and keep the metal sticks away from the sky. Number 12. For our next scene, we move inside the house for a masterclass in why you should never take home renovation chemistry advice from your buddies, especially when it involves highly volatile liquids. Our protagonist is trying to remodel his floors. He has pulled up the carpet, but underneath is a layer of stubborn vintage linoleum that is completely glued down to the solid concrete subfloor. Scraping this stuff up by hand is an absolute nightmare. It takes hours of back-breaking labor. He complains to a friend who gives him what is quite possibly the worst DIY advice in the history of homeownership. The friend says, "Oh, just pour some gasoline on the floor. It acts as a solvent and melts the glue right off." Instead of laughing at this terrible idea, our homeowner goes to his garage, grabs a bright red jerry can full of high-octane motor fuel, walks into his living room, and generously pours gallons of it all over the floor. Let's pause and appreciate the terrifying chemistry experiment he just initiated inside his own home. Gasoline is not a cleaning product. It is specifically engineered to create violent explosions inside combustion engines. Furthermore, gasoline evaporates incredibly fast, creating thick, heavy, highly explosive vapor. This vapor is heavier than air, meaning it doesn't float up and out the window. It sinks to the floor and spreads outward like an invisible, highly volatile carpet. While he is waiting for the glue to melt, that invisible vapor creeps out of the living room, slithers down the hallway, and makes its way directly into the kitchen. In the kitchen sits a standard, everyday refrigerator. Refrigerators have a mechanical compressor unit at the bottom to keep your food cold. When the internal thermostat decides the fridge needs to cool down, a mechanical relay switch clicks on to send power to the compressor. That tiny click creates a microscopic, almost invisible electrical spark. Under normal circumstances, you would never even notice it. But when that tiny spark met the heavy carpet of gasoline vapor, the chemical reaction was instantaneous. The house didn't just catch fire. It experienced a catastrophic, volumetric, thermobaric expansion. The massive concussive blast blew the windows completely out of their frames and completely ignored the homeowner's biological structural integrity. Keep the motor fuel in the car. Number 13. Finally, we wrap up today's tour of terrible ideas with a story that highlights the absolute most terrifying appliance in your entire house and proves that plumbing safety codes are written in absolute reality. Plumbers are expensive. Our homeowner was having trouble with his electric water heater. The water wasn't getting hot enough. He decided to bypass the professionals and replace the thermostat control unit on the tank all by himself. But he made two critical, catastrophic errors. First, he wired the new thermostat completely backward. Instead of telling the heating elements to turn off when the water reached a safe 120 degrees, the broken circuit told the elements to just keep heating forever. Second, he noticed that a little brass valve on the side of the tank was dripping water onto his floor. This is called the temperature and pressure, T&P relief valve. It is the single most important safety device on the appliance. If the tank gets too pressurized, this valve pops open to let the pressure out safely. Our DIY genius didn't want a puddle on his floor, so he took a metal cap and completely sealed the safety valve shut. He essentially took a large steel vessel, filled it with water, applied endless electrical heat, and permanently locked all the exits. He went to sleep in his bedroom on the second floor, feeling proud of his plumbing skills. Down in the basement, the laws of thermodynamics were aggressively going to work. The water inside the sealed tank began to boil, but because it was trapped in a sealed steel container, it couldn't turn into steam. As water heats up in a sealed container, the pressure skyrockets. Hours passed. The pressure gauge, if there had been one, would have been pinned all the way into the red zone. Finally, the structural integrity of the heavy steel tank simply gave up. The bottom seam of the water heater tore open. The moment the tank breached, the highly pressurized, superheated water instantly and violently flashed into steam. Water expands by 1,600 times its volume when it flashes to steam. The appliance did not just leak. It transformed into a massive, unguided, high-speed steam rocket. The 150-pound steel tank violently launched straight up into the air. It had so much kinetic force that it smashed straight through the basement ceiling, tore directly through the living room floor, and completely obliterated the second-story bedroom floor where the homeowner was peacefully sleeping. He initiated a localized indoor space program directly underneath his own bed. The appliance delivered a supersonic, high-pressure wake-up call that completely and permanently canceled his morning plans. He wanted to save $100 on a plumber, but physics forcefully revoked his homeowner's insurance instead. Never mess with the pressure valves, folks. And there you have it, folks. 13 times a simple weekend project turned into an absolute masterclass in what not to do. If this massive DIY marathon taught us anything, it's that sometimes the absolute best, most valuable tool in your entire toolbox is the phone number of a licensed professional. Honestly, just by sitting on your couch watching this video today and deciding not to dig a 13-story elevator shaft in your kitchen, you are officially winning at home ownership. You are doing a fantastic job. Now, I really want to hear from you guys. Out of all 13 of these spectacular home improvement reality checks, which one made you cringe the hardest? Was it the indoor gasoline floor cleaner, the backyard PVC artillery, or the heavy metal boiler rocket? Let me know your absolute favorite moment down in the comments. I'll be hanging out down there and reading through all your reactions. If you had a good laugh and enjoyed watching the laws of physics do their job today, please do me a massive favor and smash that like button. Stay smart, respect the building codes, and whatever you do, please leave the heavy machinery to the experts. I will catch you in the next video.